Michelob Ultra and Myrtle Beach wholesaler Southern Crown Partners Incorporated know our consumers enjoy relaxing days on the water with Mich Ultra's crisp and refreshing taste in hand. It's important to remember to drink and boat responsibly. Choose to be or to designate a sober skipper before leaving the dock. Do it for your family and friends, your passengers, and everyone else on board. Michelob Ultra salutes all sober skippers who take the pledge. Cheers, and we'll see you on the water.
In Myrtle Beach, you always go at your own pace. Lie out on the sand, lie out by the pool, go boogie boarding, go surfing, walk the boardwalk, walk the marsh walk, golf at one of 90 golf courses, mini golf at one of 50 mini golf courses, fish off a pier, fish from a chartered boat, go shopping, get drinks, eat the freshest seafood. The list is exhaustive, but the experience isn't. You can go all out or do nothing at all. How you relax is up to you. There is so much to do and explore, whether you're traveling with friends, family, or just yourself. With 60 miles of beach, you're going to find your place. If this sounds like what you need, then this is where you belong.
Trilogy Outdoors.
All right, folks. You know that's our buddy Ted Nugent there, and that means we're back for another episode of Trilogy Outdoors Podcast. And this week I am without the Senator, who is busy taking care of his duties as Senator and busy working in Columbia. And I am at the Pond Road Storage Studio, where it is a little bit warmish today. We've had a couple nice days of low humidity, but the humidity has come back, and you might hear the fan in the background. I don't know. But we are going to be talking with a friend of mine that I was introduced to several months back, and I think we're building a good relationship. And I'll tell you one thing I know, and that is that he represents two incredible, great companies that have awesome products that our listeners are really going to be into, and most of you already are into, just like myself. And that is, I am now speaking with Vice President of Marketing at Piscifun and Tidewee. And we're going to be talking everything about the products at Piscifun. But Jason, thank you so much. I know you got a busy schedule, but it means a lot that you took the time this morning and finally get to hang out with me for a little bit.
Hey, no, man, I'm honored to be on the podcast, and I look forward to talking gear and talking fishing, and so definitely happy to be here. Well,
I'll tell you what, I miss when the Senator is not here. I'll tell you, he adds a lot to the show. He is obviously the educated one over here, and he has some really good questions. So I'm going to try and step in and pretend to be him, but it does mean that I get to talk a lot today. So that also works good. As my wife would say, I don't have any trouble with that anyway. But, first and foremost, I got to give a shout-out to one of your pro staff members, Jason May. I know as a marketing director for a company like yourself, you are hit up nonstop by people that want to be on pro staff. And for the most part, a lot of them have great reasons that they should be on the pro staff and such. And I'll tell you, Jason May he introduced me. I'm not going to lie. Through Jason, I was obviously able to get in touch with you, but I was also able to realize exactly what you guys offer at Piscifun, and the quality of the products. And, I'll tell you, I just want you to give a quick introduction to Piscifun and exactly what you guys do there.
Yeah, for sure. So the company Piscifun has been around since 2013. So we've reached just over a decade, actually just celebrated our 10-year anniversary 1 year ago, which was really exciting. But we kind of basically, the premise of the company getting started was that we kind of realized that fishing equipment, outdoor equipment was kind of getting really expensive. And so there's a couple of gentlemen, one of whom actually owns a manufacturing facility and has manufactured for other brands before. And with the onset of e-commerce and Amazon, essentially what we did is we founded a company that we felt that we could remove a lot of that middleman circulation and distribution while keeping a high quality build on our gear. And then we could go that e-commerce route and pass that savings kind of directly to the consumer. And when it comes to the brand name, a lot of people have a tough time pronouncing it, which I fully understand because it's not the easiest name in the world. But essentially what we do is we kind of merge two words. So we took Pisces, which obviously means fish in Latin, and then we took fun. So we pronounce it Piscifun. And essentially what it is kind of bringing the fun back into fishing, making it affordable for everyone. And that was the basis 10 years ago when we got started. And we've just built it up ever since then. And we are absolutely humbled at the support from our followers and our customers over the last decade plus. It's just been an absolutely incredible ride so far.
Well, I'll tell you, it's funny you mentioned the e-commerce stuff because you and I early on, I explained to you how I was introduced to your products. And it was a simple search on Google. Actually, I think it was Amazon. Or no, maybe I searched it on Google. And I was looking for a tackle organizer that you guys at that point in time were making, and you still have them. But I was looking for that. And immediately the first search item that came up was what I ended up going with, and it was your product. And you know, I was extremely happy with that product, by the way. And what I needed was something that I could use on both my big boat, and then I would have it so that I could just pick it up and put it on my little boat, and it worked great. I started looking at your fishing products, your rods and your reels in particular then. And, you know, one thing for me was I like to physically put my hands on something. You know, I'll say all of us as consumers really like to put our hands on something. And that's why I think it's so important to have the pro staff and the guys out there that are using your product to put it into people's hands. And like I told Jason May earlier today, when we spoke, I was like, you know, the funny thing and the crazy thing is when I did charters for 14 years, all of my customers would always call and they would talk about the tackle, the rods we used. And they wanted to know, hey, I bought a boat and I want to get those rods. Hey, I bought a boat and, you know, how can I find them? And I was like, Jason, you know, you're sitting there putting them in these people's hands and they're getting to use these Nautics and these Alios and everything else and the Kraken, and which we'll go into more details on those later. But that is first and foremost is that your customers on the boat are getting to put that in their hands and fish with it. And when they see that a charter captain believes in the product, then, you know, like I said, if it can live and survive through a charter captain, it can survive anybody. Because there are very few recreational fishermen that fish as much as charter captains. And we all know that.
I would agree 100%. So when I came on board, it's kind of a unique situation. So I have been a diehard fisherman my entire life. So what happens a lot of times in corporate positions or corporate situations is you get people who are very highly educated, very intelligent, but they don't have the day-to-day experience of being within and practically applying these products. So when I came on board, my big thing was like, guys, these products need to be at a high level, and we targeted guides on purpose and pros on purpose to do all of our R&D and our testing, because much like you just said, we felt that if someone who is guiding every single day on the water can put these products through the paces, then the average angler is going to be more than thrilled when they go out and they use, you know, everything that we offer. So you definitely hit the nail on the head with making sure that we have that torture test, and there's no better out there than a guide who's on the water doing it every day.
And that is true. Now, you and I have talked about all your products, you know, separately, obviously not on here. But if we've got a mix, obviously. I think last week's episode was downloaded in 28 states, but so we've got freshwater and saltwater guys that are listening to the show. I have now physically been able to play with and use the saltwater stuff. But let's talk about some of your freshwater. Let's start off with some of your freshwater products that you offer, and you know, tell us a little bit about each product as you go.
Yeah, so as we got started, we essentially kind of started in the freshwater arena. Basically, being that I'm from the Midwest here in Wisconsin, we have, you know, walleyes, smallmouth, muskies that are our target species. So we kind of started in that arena. We have everything from ice fishing gear for the folks who are in the ice belt, all the way to micro-sized spinning reels for people who like to chase down crappies and panfish. And then we have the bigger spinning reels for people who are targeting, like I said, those bass, those walleyes. So we kind of have a full array from spinning to casting reels, and then even moving up to the larger casting reels in a 300, 400 size that guys are using to target salmon, muskies, and all those species in freshwater. So our freshwater arena is pretty vast, and we pretty much have everything covered in terms of what you would need within that freshwater area. And that's really how we cut our teeth and got started. Saltwater is actually fairly new for us. We've been doing it. We started with the Alios 4 years ago, and that was where we kind of started pushing into that direction as like an inshore casting reel.
Yep.
And then we found that there was a niche, there was a little area carved out in saltwater where, there were people who really wanted to go do it, but they couldn't necessarily afford the extremely expensive stuff on the market. And that's why we started to push in that saltwater direction with more of our products.
Well, there's no doubt about it. Like, I've had the Alios in my hand now and fished with it quite a few times. And, once I got them, originally when I got them, I love to go YouTube and watch people's reactions to them. Before I fish with them, I want to see what people are saying before I go fishing with them. And I also think that you can't give an honest opinion within the first month or two of them. And I say that in a sense for saltwater is because I've had companies that I've represented in the past, and a week or two afterwards, I can sing all the praises I want. And then in a month, 2 months, 3 months, I'm like, oh my gosh, like this thing is delaminating. Oh my gosh, this reel is corroding. And so right. I love the fact that when I went and looked on YouTube, a lot of your consumers that came up and put, videos on there and had their experiences with them, they all said like 5 months after, or even some were like 1 year after having it.
Yep.
And honestly, I cannot say one negative that I saw. Everyone was overflowing with positives. And just in the Alios was talking about how it held up and talking about, how smooth it was and continued to, and the looks of it. And that makes a big difference to somebody, the recreational guy who is going to use the rod, once, twice, 3 times a month, and they want their buddies to see good-looking tackle on the boat, good-looking rods, and every one I saw seems to have held up really good. And, again, if you're out there fishing for a fish, the last thing you want is for a bearing to go bad or any of those crazy things that can happen. They happen with all rods, but to hear these guys talk about using them as much as some of them used them over the year, 2 years or whatever of having them, and they still were almost like brand new, those are the things you want to hear as a consumer when you're trying to decide whether you're going to spend that money or not. Because you brought up a great point, and that is the fact that, to go buy some of the bigger name or the well-known name brand products, I mean, some people spend as much as buying some of these smaller boats down here, the John boats, the inshore boats, on reels than what others do, just to have that name brand. And I personally think that what I'm sitting here looking at, and I got my Alios in my hand, by the way. I've got it. I'm holding it in my hand for a lot of different reasons. The handle, the knob on that handle is incredible. I love that, and I love it on the Nautics as well. But I love how this thing has just held up so well. And I look forward. I'm going to do a video here shortly. I just, I feel like you can't do an honest, and I think you'll agree with me on this. You can do all the videos you want as soon as you get them. But until you've given them a little bit of wear and tear and used them, I think you're more legitimate and you're going to be more well received with your feedback at that point than just immediately saying, oh, look at this, I love it. Oh, my gosh, the first time I went, I caught, a 40-pound amberjack. It handled it, which, by the way, these reels, what do I have, the 400, I think?
It should be the 400, yeah.
Yeah, I've got the 400. This thing is a beast. It's a beast.
So kind of how you were touching, so there's a few different things that I want to touch on as you brought up, the influencers and when you're working with people and the product. And so we knew, or I knew coming in when we were trying to break into this market, that obviously there's several large companies that have done well for decades. So we're going up against some people that we really needed to be kind of strategic in how we did things. So when we would approach influencers, I would actually approach them and say, hey, I'm going to send you this reel. I want you to go take it, and I want you to do whatever you can to beat the ever-living crap out of this thing.
Yep.
Okay, and if you can come back to me, 2, 3, 4, 5 months down the line after you've been putting this thing through heck, and you can tell me confidently that you feel that you can recommend this, then I want to work with you. And I think that really kind of started to put in perspective what type of company we were, as that started to echo throughout the industry, and people realized we weren't just there to get a quick sell. We were there to prove to you that our products, although they were affordable, they were extremely high quality. And I think what some people, especially in the saltwater arena, right, there, like you mentioned, there are some extremely expensive products on the market.
Yes.
And so when people look at a product that is cut down in price by, half, 2/3, 3/4, that initial reaction to that price is, well, the quality can't be good. Well, the reality is when you pull out middleman distribution, so if you're a large company and you do middleman distribution, and you're sending to large box stores, everyone in between has to make money.
Yep.
So that takes that production cost and it hyperinflates it, and then eventually that cost gets passed down to the consumer. So what we do is we still manufacture in the same high-end facilities as our competitors, but we cut out all that middle circulation. So the reason that price is so low is because we eliminate all that cost. So you're still getting that same high-end product at an affordable price. And I think that's that value proposition, and knowing that they hold up is really what built our company from the ground.
And that is exactly what, like, my one talking point with the groups that I've showed it to, with the vendors that I've showed it to, my one talking point has been that, because obviously the first question you get is, well, why is it so much less than this one? And I mean,
exactly.
we put these reels next to, a bigger name, higher price reel, put them right beside it. Actually, I let these guys hold them. I put them on rods. We've got them on rods, so they're able to hold. And their question is, how are they able to do it for this price? What are they giving up to do that? And that's exactly what I said. I said they're not using that middleman. They don't have to use that middleman, and it cuts out so much. And I know, and I don't want to get too far into things and into the conversation already, but I do know that there are a lot of interest here in people that are starting to see it and hear about it. And, for that instant gratification, the guy that is willing to drive 20 minutes or 30 minutes or an hour to go get something instead of waiting for a couple days for it to get there, that option is a great option to have, especially as good as these products are, and I think as much momentum as they're going to start picking up, especially in the fall, with all the inshore fishing and everything else. And like I said, I'm trying to get this Nautics in a bunch of people's hands, because I want them to see, like, I truly have put that Nautics through the ringer. And when I say that, I have put it up several times without rinsing it on purpose, okay? I have rinsed it. I have dropped it in salt water. I'll say that. I put it in salt water. I have rinsed it after that. I have soaked it. I've done everything. And it is still as smooth as the day I got it. And honestly, aesthetically, it looks better than some of the much higher priced reels that I have. That I have had literally 4 of them 1 month longer than the time that I've had that Naughty X, and those 4 are corroding. And I can't, obviously I'm not going to say the name of the company that those 4 came from. I don't have to, but I can. When I do the video in the next month, I'm going to put them in there, only because I have the receipt that says when I bought these reels, the other ones, and I want people to see exactly how they held up versus the other. Versus your product. And, I mean, again, this is the same thing Jason May and I were talking about, is you think about it, E. He said a guy buys a new boat, a brand new boat. He's new to fishing. He's got to go get rods for inshore. He's got to go get rods for nearshore. of course, we hope he's going to get a Kraken or two and go deep dropping or use it for trolling like I do some. And you're looking at thousands of dollars that they spend, to get the boat outfitted and ready to go. If you can show them that the product works and that they're going to be able to, think about it. How about if they can take the money they save and go get a lap scope on that saltwater boat?
Sure.
Oh, boy, let's don't bring up forward-facing sonar yet, but we will. We will.
Nowadays.
We will. We will bring it up because I think you and I are both on the same page with it. But I think that everything that I've seen on my end so far, I'm more than happy, and honestly to the point where I'm kind of honestly pleasantly surprised, especially with the Nautics. I knew this Alios was going to hold up. I did. But with the Nautics and the way my son treats reels and the way that I treat reels, and I'll tell you, I'm in our studio / storage building with my boat, and a lot of people don't realize that when I rinse my reels off, and where I would be leaving it outside and let them dry, if I leave them in the boat and bring them in here, that moisture stays for so long on those reels. In defense of the other company, when I do make this video, they don't dry up. They stay, and I put dehumidifiers in here for that reason now. Just in the last couple of weeks, I had to put them in here because I was noticing a lot of stuff, not just in the rods and reels, but other stuff, just from putting it up wet. So as good as it is to be inside the storage building, it also is taking an extra wear and tear on my products on the boat, and the reels being one of them. And again, that Nautics sitting right next to the other brand has maintained its appearance aesthetically and maintained its performance to the degree that it honestly feels like the day I opened it. I think it was the end of May, whenever it was I got them. But it does. It feels exactly the same way, and, man, I love it. Now, in that Nautics, let's talk about what you offer in size-wise in that reel, because a lot of guys, like myself, love those bigger spinning setups to go offshore for pitch baits and things of that nature. Do you make that in the 4 or 5 or 6,000 size as well?
Yeah, so when we introduced this Nautics, this was kind of our flagship saltwater spinning reel. So we wanted to really make sure that we were going to cover enough of a span when it came to the sizes that folks could target multiple different species throughout the year. So we do offer this one in a 3, 4, 5, and 6,000 model. So guys can go doing everything from inshore and then to even taking it offshore and targeting some of those larger species, and they're going to have that size and that drag performance that they need to be able to fight those fish successfully.
That's right. And you can see all these products. I'll go ahead and mention it now. We're going to mention it many more times, but Piscifun.com. And again, that's Piscifun.com. And don't pass out if you see that price. Trust me, that's the price. I mean, it is. And again, I said the same thing when I went on here and went shopping. I looked at the prices. I was like, are you kidding me? But again, jumping back to the Alios. I mean, literally that Alios looks to me like a $300 to $400+ reel. It does. And it performs like that.
Yeah, and it's that. So that reel, like I said, that was our first approach into the saltwater arena. And I was working with a charter captain out of San Francisco, and the reason that reel got the name Alios is because he took it out to the Alios rocks off the coast of California, and was just targeting these monster saltwater fish. And he came back to me and he said, "Dude, I don't know how you're doing this. I don't know what you guys are doing to produce this reel at the price that you are." He's like, "But I am absolutely blown away." Now, he's been a charter captain for 18 years out of San Francisco. And so he said, "You know what, man?" He's like, "I love testing this." He's like, "We should name this the Alios." He's like, "Because that is some of the biggest fish in this area, and this reel just absolutely crushed them." So that's kind of the origination of where that came from. And when we had that sign off from that charter captain, we were like, okay, we're ready to rock with our first saltwater reel now.
That's awesome. What are so we've mentioned the Nautics and the Alios. Before we get into the Kraken, what are some other saltwater reels that you offer?
Yeah, so we do have a limited amount of saltwater reels right now because, like I said, we're kind of slowly stepping into that. But in addition to the Kraken, we also have the reel called the Atlantic's 1500. So I like to call this, just for easy people understanding, it's like the Kraken Junior. So this reel people are using for like slow jigging and more inshore fishing, but it still has that same electronic uptake if you want to decide to use it that way. So it's a very versatile reel in that kind of inshore fishing arena and that slow jigging arena.
Oh, nice. And that is the Atlantics. Would you say it?
Yep, Atlantic's 1500.
Nice. I'm actually going on here and looking through that because I don't know how in the world I've missed that.
That one's only been out for about 2 months now.
And the Carbon X is still there?
Yep. So the Carbon X. So a lot of people ask me. So the Carbon X is a super lightweight carbon framed spinning reel, and I'm really big on education because I never want a customer to purchase something and then be upset with the performance of the reel when they get it.
Right.
So when people come to me and they ask about the Carbon X, I'm just flat out truthful in how the design relates to what they're doing. So if you're going out and you're catching, smaller kind of inshore reds, trout, some smaller snook, stuff like that, the Carbon X is going to perform amazing for you, okay? That being said, the Carbon X is not IPX5 seal rated like our Nautix is. So when people are going out, I'm like, look, you have to be hypersensitive about rinsing this thing. You have to make sure that it's getting taken care of if you're in the salt with it. And number two, when it comes to frame structure, and this is super important for people to understand, and I think a lot of listeners may not know this, but when it comes to frame structure, the material you use during a battle with a fish is what determines the gear alignment. And this is what causes gear stripping on fishing reels. So if I'm going out and I have my carbon reel, right, which can have some flex to the frame under extreme pressure,
right,
this can cause a misalignment in the gears, which ultimately causes the teeth to strip. So I always tell people, I'm like, you got to have the right tool for the right job. It's no different than a carpenter or a masonry. You got to have the right tools for the right job. So I tell people, if you want to do the real lightweight stuff, grab the Carbon X, no problem if you want to use it. But don't go out there expecting this thing to be hooking into a 20-pound amberjack and think you're going to have a good day, because it's probably not going to end well.
And that is, I mean, that's with any reel manufacturer. I mean, you design something for specific things, and like you said, I was not aware of the difference in the carbon versus the aluminum or steel. I was not aware of the fact that would move, but I thought about that being perfect for inshore, for smaller stuff, and like, yeah. I love to cast at trout with artificials, with light artificials, and with a smaller rod, and I just think that that's a great combination to throw that Carbon X on one and use it for trout.
Yeah, another one that I have kind of been telling people, it's a new model for this year, but it's called the Illumix.
Yep.
And this one is a lightweight aluminum reel. So that one has the frame rigidity of aluminum, but it's super light. So that's a killer option if you're doing something like casting artificials for some of those smaller indoor fish.
Yep.
That one is a great option for that.
Yeah, and it's under $100. Like, I mean, for right now, it's under $100 if you go online and if you're looking at that Illumix.
Yep.
And that's one I didn't order. I might have to try that one. I need to try that one as well.
That reel. That's personally my favorite spinning reel in our lineup. I love the Carbon X. I love how light it is.
Right.
The rigidity of that aluminum with that gear alignment on the Illumix, it's like absolute butter, and it has incredible balance on the rod.
Yep, and you make it in the 1,000, 2,000, and 3,000, I see.
Yep.
And those are perfect for inshore. Yeah, I got to quit. I got to get off this website here. I'm shopping already. I'm shopping already. But, I mean, I get so excited, and it is that time of the year for me. I'm going to switch everything over, obviously, and there are just so many different applications. It's funny when my son gets on the boat. He's 7 years old, and he knows that one hatch on my boat in the front where I keep my rods is certain rods for whether we're red fishing or flounder, and then the other is for casting at trout or casting at Spanish mackerel and everything else, and I keep them divided. And that way it's easier for me because I have ADHD. If I do that, it makes it a lot easier if I need something quick to run, go get it. But I'm going to get the bow of the boat changed over and get as many Piscifuns in there as I can. But let's talk about the Kraken, because the first time I went out with the Kraken, I took it out the 2 days after I got it. I would have been out the day after, but unfortunately we had wind blowing. And I took my family, I took my daughter, my son, and a couple nieces and their boyfriends out. And we were going to catch Spanish mackerel. Honestly, I didn't have time to get offshore to go deep dropping. And we were going to catch Spanish mackerel and troll with spoons and planers and everything else. And, that planer pulls hard on a reel.
Oh, yeah.
And pulls hard on a rod. And my daughter was responsible for the starboard rod. And I showed her how to do the button and everything else, how to lever. And I'm sitting over there, and she's reeling it in. I see the rod is completely bent over. And I'm like, do you have a fish? And she said, yes. I said, okay. And she reels in that number 2 planer like it's nothing. I mean, still down, digging, and it comes flying out the water. Well, fortunately, I had set that thing at I think 12 foot is what I set it at, or 12 yards, so that it, didn't reel it all the way up to the eye. And I was just amazed that it pulled that number 2 planer through the water just like it was nothing. But, wow, it can't get any easier with that battery setup. It doesn't get any easier.
So the Kraken was, again, we kind of take a look at the market and see what's out there and see what we think we can improve upon. And so those deep drop reels, they're something that, they're expensive. You're looking at, between $900 and $1,200 for a lot of these models. And we, again, with our model, we thought we could bring something to the market that would be highly competitive at a fair price. And so if you look right now, it's on sale on the website for $469.99. And then if you get the reel and the battery together, $569.99. So the value based on that compared to other brands on the market is insane. But when we built this reel, you mentioned kind of bringing that planer board in, and it was effortless. And so the big thing that we wanted to do with this reel was make sure we had a ton of torque. So that way, when you're deep dropping, maybe 1,200 feet down, and you have the saltwater fish going bonkers, you got to have the torque to be able to bring them all the way up, or bring in a board, or, even if you hook in, we had a guy that messaged me the other day, caught a 40-pound amberjack using it. And so you got to have the torque when you're fighting against fish like that, especially when you're using an electric capacity behind it. And that battery is incredible. When we developed this, our goal was like, okay, we know guys were using these big external batteries, and they're kind of clunky, and it's not really user friendly. So we figured, all right, lithium technology has come a long way the last 5 years. We figured that there was a way to kind of compact that into a good, easy to use situation and be able to attach it to the rod. And it turned out great. And people are honestly just ecstatic with that setup.
Oh, again, it's so simple. When you get the battery pack, you get the battery sheath, the holder that mounts on the rod, and I'm telling you, I've still got the same battery, the first charge that I've had. I've got it on there. I've been 3 times to catch Spanish. The one time that I went with the kids, the first time, the Spanish weren't here yet. I've been back twice since then to catch them, and I'm still on the same charge with the battery. And I'm able to test the battery because I've got a battery tester that came with it.
Yeah, and that lithium technology is just incredible nowadays. The amount of power and longevity that you're able to pack into such a small package is awesome. And it is a cool feature. We like I said, it's always value proposition for us. We look at something and we're like, man, what can we offer? What does someone want or need that'll make them feel that this is more user-friendly or it enhances their experience on the water? And so something small like having that battery tester, you always have the confidence in knowing that your gear is going to perform when you have something out there with you to test it. So that's just a little, type of sweeten the deal accessory that we like to include with our reels.
Yep, and 545 yards, if I'm not mistaken, is right around 1,670 feet or something around that. Is that right? 1,600 plus feet.
Right around there. So, yeah, you can basically get down to 1,500 plus is what we have with the Kraken. So you're able to get down there and get, common fish that guys are going for. People are going for, snowy grouper, tile fish. But we've seen people now that they've been in the market for a while, people are using them for all sorts of stuff. So it's been really cool to just see that natural development of people just having an idea and going and trying it out.
Well, the Kraken is no slouch at 33 pounds of drag either.
No, yeah, it definitely, like I said, that guy caught that 40-pound amberjack. It's got the ability to haul in those big, powerful fish. It's not just for those smaller deep drop species.
No, and I love the fact that I can just reach over and hit the switch and then turn back around and drive the boat. Because normally when I'm trolling for bait, and I'm a big believer in Spanish mackerel for king mackerel. I'll troll several throughout a day, so I like to stock the freezer up with them when they show up. And honestly, for me, all I got to do is put the planers out. When I see it hits, I go over, press it. It comes in. I reach back there, sling the reel in, shake the fish off, and deploy it immediately, and right back to fishing. And call it lazy, call it what you want, but it works great. And I'll tell you the other thing. You mentioned it earlier, the snowies, the tilefish. I know a lot of people that will go out and jig for them, or they'll go out and drop, once, twice, maybe 3 times. But for most of us, we're not going to sit out there and deep drop much in 1,000 foot with a manual rod.
Yeah.
You're just not going to. Oh, it's exhausting, and half the time, I'll be honest with you, you take breaks and everything else, and you end up reeling in half a fish, and that is our good friends, the sharks.
Exactly.
That come in there. And even, I know Jason May has been using it inshore a little bit in some, 80 to 100-foot situations when he's got an older person on the boat that may not want to, go through that much. You're in some situations, we're bringing up almost 18 to 20 ounces of lead, and that in itself is a workout when you're doing it manually.
Absolutely.
So there's
when guides.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
When guides have clients on the boat, like you said, you never know, what type of person is going to come on and what their capability in terms of fishing is. So it's nice to have something like that to, at least have another avenue for them to be able to enjoy being out there.
That's right. That's right. And again, if you order the battery, the PB 5000, I believe is what you have, is the battery combination. Is that right? The PB?
That's correct.
Yeah. If you order that PB 5000, you get the charger that comes with it. You get the battery tester, and that comes with the sheath. Or does the sheath come with the reel? I can't remember. I know I've got the sheath.
The extra accessories, the battery sheath does come with it, along with the charging and the tester.
Yep. And then your other options are, obviously, you send the regular battery adapter, the clips, to go with it as well, for those that want to go old school and just use the clips.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, I'm good with the little battery because, again, until you put it to the test, you cannot imagine how much power that little battery has and how long it'll last. It's I know a lot of people would look at that little battery and go, man, this isn't going to last me a whole day out there. Well, Jason May and I both have put them to, have used them till, I know Jason said he went like 3 or 4 times, and that was with charters, using them nonstop. Yeah. And they still had over a half charge. You can't trade it. Like you said, lithium's come a long way.
Yeah, lithium. And the big thing, too, is honestly making sure that we made sure we vetted out the best lithium battery factories that we could. There are subpar factories that are using lithium, but it's not packaged right. It's not efficient. So the big thing was just making sure that we got with the factory that makes these batteries, that does it to a very high scale, to make sure that customers are satisfied with the performance.
And so with the 2 electric reels, both the electrics, the Atlantic is the other one, correct? Am I saying that correct?
Atlantics.
Atlantic, yep, the Atlantic. Do you have a lot of your freshwater guys using these, or do you have freshwater electric reels? Because I know a lot of guys love to use them for the counters, if I'm not mistaken, up on the lakes, don't they?
Yeah, so they don't really use electrics in general, just because we're not dealing with the depth or necessarily the size of the fish that you guys are dealing with.
Yeah.
So I would say generally, most of the guys are still using more of a mechanical, traditional trolling style reel. But I could, if someone got their hands on it, I could see it starting to take off in certain scenarios and certain situations. It's just more of, getting them to switch and try it, because it's just not traditional in terms of what they do.
Right. Well, and I'm looking through here because I probably overlooked it, but I'm sure you have. Do you offer something with a line counter? A normal reel with a line counter? I'm just saying that because I know a lot of the don't the muskie fishermen or the salmon fishermen, don't y'all have to count out line isn't it pretty important because you're putting out all your lines to keep the distances correct or something? I have never been fishing up on the lakes, so
no, you're on it. You've definitely got it nailed. So we right now what we're doing is the Alios, and this is kind of a early bird thing because I don't normally share this stuff, but
okay, I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. This one, I'm good with this. So the Alios 400, we are actually currently working on a specific frame style with a counter built into that reel. So that reel, I would say, will be spring of next year. We will see that reel come in a new frame package with a counter on it. So guys who are using it for that sort of application, it could be catfish guys that do bumping.
Yep.
It can be king salmon anglers. It might be musky guys out on the Great Lakes, like in Green Bay, Wisconsin, that are counting back their lures. So there's definitely a demand for that. And we figured with the popularity of the Alios, it was the perfect one to kind of update that frame to be able to allow that line counter to be on.
That's going to look pretty doggone awesome on that frame.
It will be. We think it's probably going to be a very, very popular reel.
That it will, because if you think about most line counter reels are just that big, bulky looking, kind of, I don't know, like a Volkswagen van looking kind of thing, and this thing looks more like a Ferrari.
Yeah. We're big on aesthetics. We realize that as the younger generation comes into fishing, and we want to make sure things are sharp, sleek, cutting edge. They look good, and like you said, a lot of guys want to match their reels to their rods, and so we try to be aware of that kind of market and make sure that we're bringing stuff that people enjoy using because it looks good as well as perform as well.
Yeah, and one reel before we move on to some other stuff, but one other reel I know in your lineup that Jason May has a lot of on his boat is the Salus, correct? Is that am I saying it correct? The Salus X?
Yes, it would be Solus, but yeah, Solus, Salus.
There we go.
Same difference.
All right, Solus. Well, we got it right now. The Solus, and he loves his.
Yeah, so that one is that's a conventional level line style reel. And a lot of guys are using it, if they're out, they're hanging live bait out back behind the boat. It's got a bait clicker on it, so you're able to hear if a bait gets taken. But yeah, we even have salmon guys up here in the Midwest using it. But that is a very nice reel with it at an insanely affordable price if, guides or people are just trying to outfit multiple setups on their boat.
Right. And one thing I wanted to mention, and I don't think we mentioned earlier, is with the Alios, with the 400, I've got a clicker on here.
Yep.
And
yeah,
I love that.
That was a feature that we just decided to add because we felt, it's something that we could put into the build and it wasn't going to drastically change the design. So we thought, why not add a clicker? Because there's a lot of guys that are going to live bait fish with that reel, and people do love the clicker feature on there.
And that's exactly what my setups with my Alios right now are for pitching baits and for a drift bait. In other words, if I'm out there bottom fishing, I've got a setup that I can throw out the back of the boat and leave live bait out there swimming around for a king mackerel or barracuda or whatever, shark, amberjack or whatever. And I can turn that clicker on and just set it out the way and listen for it. And by the way, the clicker is really loud.
That was a key for us. People love a loud clicker. It's like, if you're going to have one, if you have something that's going to tell you there's a bite, you want it to tell you there's a bite. So
yes.
We made sure it was nice and loud.
Yeah, you want to be able to hear it. It's important. It is.
Absolutely.
Now listen, so for Piscifun, anybody wants to get in touch with Piscifun, find out more about their stuff, obviously the website. You guys are also very active on social media with videos and such. And, if you go to YouTube, folks, I promise you, if you put in Piscifun, Piscifun, you will be amazed at all the videos, all the products. And, again, there's some incredible videos. But also people, they can Piscifun.com, they can contact y'all through there or go on there and, make an order, find whatever you want on there, and order it, and bam, it's that easy. It's simple. It is simple.
Yeah, it is very simple. And make sure you check us out on all of our platforms, too. So we have an essential social media following. For those of you that are on TikTok, we have 1.3 million followers on TikTok. So check us out, Instagram, TikTok, all the platforms across the board. We do some pretty cool content, and I think you guys will definitely enjoy that as well.
Yeah, and one thing, another accolade that I'm going to give you is this. When I look at your videos from your influencers and from others that put videos out there, you use the normal Joe. And I say that in a sense that you use the guy like 95% of my listeners and 95% of your customers that are the weekend warrior or such, and you let them send in videos. And they some of the videos are awesome. I mean, they are. They're great, and they tell you and show you exactly what that product can do.
Yeah, we like to work with users all across the board. I mean, we work with guys that are, just kind of getting started in fishing, because there's value to everything. Every single day, there's someone out there that decides they want to try to learn how to fish. And so sometimes when you're going to watch a YouTube video, it's not necessarily that you want to watch a pro that's been doing this for 20 years. It's nice to go and watch a video and learn along with someone who is also learning, because it's just a different perspective. So we love working with people across the full spectrum, from just getting started all the way to being a professional angler. And we've kind of prided ourselves at being able to spread ourselves within that entire arena.
Yep. Well, you've done it, and you do it well. And we're going to cross over because real quick, we're Fin, Spur, and Feathers here at Trilogy Outdoors, and we actually Stephen, Senator Goldfinch, my partner, who's not here today, has basically purchased in the last year and a half what we're deeming Camp Trilogy, and it is a outdoorsman's paradise. And we're going to be turkey hunting, deer hunting, duck hunting, dove hunting, quail hunting. We're going to be entertaining clients out there and all kinds of stuff. Got a really cool barn dominium that he has built out there. And he mentioned to me one thing, that he had already been to Tidewee's website, and he had already looked through some of the stuff and wanted to know if that was for real and the pricing was for real. And I said, yes. I said, trust me. And I sent him a picture of my turkey vest. But real quick, I know we're going to switch gears, but let's talk about Tidewee, because we need to. I think the products you put out over there as well are incredible. And, when I was gifted this turkey vest from a real good friend of mine that I turkey hunt with, I looked at it and I said, man, that's going to be bulky, dude. That thing's huge. The first time I leaned up and didn't have a tree around me, and I was almost asleep within 10 minutes because of that kickstand. I was like, this thing's wonderful. And then I had everything in my pockets. I had box calls. I had slate calls. I had everything. Let's talk real quick about Tidewee and what you guys are over on that side of it.
Yeah, for sure. So Tidewee came about in about 2008. So we had already had Piscifun going, and we recognized that the business model of making these outdoor products more affordable was something that was going to work. And at that point, we decided, you know what, if we can do it on the fishing side, it's likely that we can also make things more affordable for hunters as well. It's kind of the same premise and just applying that to the hunting side of things. So initially, we kind of took off and we started with waders. That was our bread and butter. And then now we've kind of really pushed into doing a lot of different things across, whether it's hunting clothing for turkey or, whitetail hunting or elk hunting. And our latest products that have been an absolute hit with people are our hunting blinds.
Uh-huh.
So if you go on, like you said, YouTube or the website or anything, you can see all over social media right now, it's just a craze. We use a see-through mesh technology through our blinds. And so what this does, whether it's the windows or the full panel, the full wall, you are able to be inside of that blind and see directly through the wall, directly through the closed window, and see the game on the outside of the blind. However, they cannot see any movement within the blind when they're looking towards you. And it is an incredible experience, and especially if you're taking out youth, getting kids into hunting, someone who's new. I mean, it's totally exhilarating to feel exposed like that, but actually be hidden and have a true wide view of everything around you.
You just mentioned it, kids, and the senator and myself both have young hunters in our family. By the way, congratulations to Miss Hadley Goldfinch on her first harvest of a beautiful, beautiful buck this weekend in South Carolina for opening weekend of rifle season here. And but having a kid in the blind, like the one complaint my son had the first couple years was, man, I couldn't see the deer. Like I didn't get to see the deer. You know, we were up at a tree stand. I didn't want him to stick his head up over the rail. Different things of that nature. And I can see him just getting in this thing and having a party. And, you know, again, the fact that you can see pretty much completely around you and feels like you're immersed in the outdoors truly is second to none. And I think with kids, that is a bonus. But also with all of us, I mean, you can get in there and, hey, if you're reaching over to your phone to check a text or whatever, you're still nice and hidden, although you've got that incredible view and nothing's sneaking up on you.
Yeah, and we started with just kind of a standard size blind, and now we've honestly truly expanded to blinds for everyone. So we have 270 see-through, we have 360 see-through, we have models with only see-through windows. We have models where the entire wall panel opens up, so if you have a disabled hunter and you're trying to get them out there, they can use that access to get in much easier. We have double blinds that connect together, so you have two large blinds if you're doing maybe a hunting party. A lot of veterans organizations have been purchasing those so they can get multiple people out in an area. So we've just really ramped up our development in that blind area, and the reviews have just been incredible. I know I'll have to check it now, and I know last year we had the #1 selling hunting blind on Amazon.
Yep. I had read that as well. And the other thing is, like, the one, I've owned another brand's big 3-person blind, I believe it was 3-person, and I will say that I had such a nightmare with the curtains, with the windows, with everything else, that I just left them down. Like I didn't even open them. But you guys have like a silent method of closing and opening these windows, don't you?
Yeah. So similar to how I mentioned before, having a background in doing these things specifically. So I've been an archery hunter since I was 10 years old. I'm 36 years old. So for me, when I looked at these products, and so I know I said I'm a VP of marketing, but because I've been with the company pretty much since the inception, I kind of have my hand in everything. So I also help with product development as well. And so when I came to them and I kind of explained the features and the things, and these are all directly sourced from hunters that are out in the woods every single day and giving us feedback. And we're so customer centric that we take all of that and we try to apply it as well as we can to our products. So the silent windows that you mentioned, these are kind of on a rail system. So there's no Velcro, there's no, nothing loud, no noise. And you can raise and lower these windows, to customize your view however you'd like. And, when it comes to being out there with whitetails, they are extremely, extremely sensitive to scent and to, sound. So that was just another feature that we offered to hunters to make their hunt more successful.
Well, another thing that I wasn't aware of that I'm just reading, and I will let you explain it to the listeners out there that probably are going to go hop on and try to order one of these. Let's talk about that fabric difference in that 150 and the 300. Is it obviously is that 300 going to hold up better? Is it to block more wind? Explain it to me. Why I would want to choose one or the other?
Yeah, for sure. So it really boils down to, how durable it's going to be out in the elements. So you have hunters that do various different types of hunting. You have some folks who are going out, they're popping up a blind, and then they're going to break it down and they're going to bring it in. Then you have other folks, like we have a property, we take our blind out, we leave it out all season up until the winter. So it's taken a beating from rain, wind, snow. And so what we did, we just wanted to add another layer of quality to our offerings, and that's why we went to that 300D polyester, which is just a heavier duty, stronger overall structure for guys that are going to be leaving their stuff out a bit longer than others. And and it's a little bit heavier, so people have that option. Okay, I'm going to go with that lighter weight where I can carry it in with me, it's no problem, I'm not super concerned about it being out in the elements. Or they can say, okay, I really need to step up this durability because I know I'm leaving the sucker out in the woods and it's going to get pounded by the elements.
Right, and that's important. I mean, obviously the price is just incredible, but you don't want it to be a disposable blind. Like, you want to get some uses out of it, And
Absolutely.
And also, there's a lot of situations where, like even for myself and my son, like we'll get permission to hunt somewhere for a couple days that's not our normal property. And if I want to go, I want to feel comfortable setting the blind up and leaving it to come back to it, every day, and having the peace of mind knowing that I'm not going to come back and there's going to be a tree branch sticking through it, or other things, would be worth that. What is it? I'm doing the math here. What is it, about 20% more, 25% more in the price for the
right
30?
about there.
Yeah, for that 300D. And I'm going to guess camo patterns, are they the same? Do you have an option in camo pattern, or is it all kind of this?
So we do a couple different things. It just depends on the model. So one of our partners is actually Veil Camouflage, and they do more of the non-traditional sort of abstract breakup camouflage. So we have some of our blinds that are available in that pattern, and then others are more in just a standard wooded pattern as well.
Yep.
So we kind of do a little bit of each, and we will be expanding next year more into more abstract ones, just because people seem to really enjoy that and the versatility depending on where you are. So whether I'm in Wisconsin or you're over in the Carolinas or folks are down south in Texas, that abstract pattern kind of gives you more versatility. So we're going to be doing some more of that as well.
Right, because you guys are obviously fishing hunting in completely different territory than we are down here, where mostly here we're going to be dealing in pines and oaks and things of that nature, or we do hunt a lot right outside of farm and crops, which y'all have up there too. But I will say this much: I know a lot of people are real picky about their camo patterns, especially when duck hunters. They're the worst. We are. Let me say that correctly. We are the worst. We are bad, and I don't know why in the world we get so picky about our camo pattern. But typically I hunt tidal marsh, down here. I typically hunt tidal marsh, and I see you've got a couple different camos in your waders that work perfectly down here. Speaking of waders, I'm switching you over to waders because I just wanted to. But let's talk about it. And I'll say this much. As someone who has used both neoprene and breathable waders, there are bonuses and pluses to both of them. But I know that a good quality breathable pair of waders, you're not going to find them cheap. I don't care. If you want a pair that's going to hold up, you're not going to find them for cheap. And your breathables look incredible. And that is the pair of your waders that I've not seen any of the neoprene yet. But I have seen the breathables, and a friend of mine who guides part-time at a duck impoundment here. It's a hunting club, duck club. He swears by them. Let's hear about the waders a little bit.
Yeah, so waders, we've been doing waders for quite a while now, and it's really been a bread and butter for us. So when it came to the waders, we've had a couple of really solid breakthroughs. One being the pricing when it comes to a high-end breathable wader. So you're looking at $700-800 if you're looking at most brands generally, and you can get ours for $500. So obviously a killer cost savings there without sacrificing any quality whatsoever. We have full-time waterfowl guides that are running these, down in Arkansas, where where obviously waterfowl is just an absolutely crazy sport in that area. But another breakthrough, and maybe not so much for you guys. I mean, I know you do get chilly periods, not like us up here in the Midwest. But another breakthrough was putting heating technology into our waders.
Oh, yeah.
So if you get a brisk morning, for example, like our Torrid Seeker chest waders, they have a nice little heating element that goes in the chest where you set your hands when you're trying to warm up. So, I mean, when you're in a brisk, chilly morning and your hands are a little cold after you're setting decoys or whatever it might be, it is so awesome to be able to just hit that button on your chest, fire up that little heater that's attached in there, and kind of warm your hands up and warm the core of your body up. And it was funny because when we first brought them out, there was a lot of people like, oh, you wusses, just go out there and hunt and, you can handle the cold. And I talked to a lot of people. I said, man, you got to realize one day there's that 70-year-old man who just really still wants to go out hunting, but he can't quite handle that cold anymore. I was like, we're bringing something to the table that allows people to extend their love of a sport, 10, 15 more years than normally what they would have been just by introducing new technology.
That's right.
Or young kids. Same thing. Kids freeze their butt off out in the outdoors. That's part of the problem of having them out, is keeping them interested enough when they're freezing their butt off out there. And so same thing, that heating technology has really been a massive breakthrough.
Oh, absolutely. And I'll speak on behalf of probably more than you think of us southern duck hunters. If you've got the option of heated, we're going that way. I mean, why? Yes, it's all about the experience, and yes, suck it up, buttercup. But man, if you got the option to throw some heat on and turn it on, I'm using it, because I'm a squirrely 152-pound 53-year-old, and I'd much rather be happy out there and warm than be out there freezing going, hey, but I'm hunting.
Yeah, I can tell you, the older that I get, every year that passes, I am much less concerned with being the tough guy that freezes my butt off, and much more concerned with being the guy that gets to be comfortable and enjoy my hunt for much longer.
Oh, well, you just wait, buddy. You said 36?
Yeah.
Oh, you just wait. You just wait. You just wait. Hey, but you're not scared to go fishing in the cold, are you?
No, man. I couldn't be, because we're growing up in Wisconsin here. We are out on the boat, when it's freezing temperatures, 25, 30 degrees, and we're out in a boat on the water. So that is part of what's in our blood here in terms of if you want to be a fisherman during some of the best times of the year.
Oh,
we'll
yeah.
fish pretty much right up until the lakes freeze over.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, so Tidewee, great company. Also, another online availability that you can search, tidewee.com, and that's Tide, like the Tide, Tide, we.com. And stop me, because did you tell me how y'all came up with that name?
So it was actually interesting. So as we were going through, we were doing a lot of traditional names, and so one thing that's interesting when it comes to e-commerce is the ability to drive traffic without having it be split out against your competitors.
Right.
So we started kind of looking at different words, and to be honest, we came up with the logo first. And we were looking at it and we're like, man, like that looks like something with a T and a W.
Yep.
And so we arbitrarily came up with this word so that when it came to online key searching, it would never lead anyone to anything else other than us.
Oh, that's very smart.
So it was intentional to just make a brand new word that didn't exist. Because we could have did something associated to ducks or waterfowl or, any sort of hunting style, but it would have then, reduced our ability to be a successful e-commerce platform. So there was a little bit of business strategy behind that one.
Well, e-commerce is so important, and it's regardless if you're in brick and mortar, regardless if you're just online, e-commerce is important, and you guys have obviously got it figured out. And I say that in a sense, just yesterday, texting with you, and mentioning Piscifun and Tidewee. Now, every fourth or fifth post on Facebook that comes up is a Piscifun or Tidewee ad.
Yeah.
It's
a little scary, isn't it?
There's no doubt it's scary, but hey, look, if you're in the business, you got to join it. Like I tell my business partner, I know he's going to listen to this, and I love him to death. We both were against TikTok. I'll tell you. Obviously, he works for the government. He does work for the government. He's in the Army too, but he obviously is a senator, and so he's heard all the TikTok stuff.
Sure.
And he was adamant about we need to be YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, X, Twitter, whatever. And I started a TikTok page and kind of did it without him knowing. And it is amazing how much traffic is on TikTok over there, and it's important. You've got to be over there. I mean, it's just, I hate to say it, but for business, it's important. And when I've got clients that rely on, me getting in front of people with their products, it's important that we start putting product over there and on TikTok. And it's been incredible. But, again, I can't say enough how good you guys have, how wonderful you guys have done. And that is, making it available, getting it out there for people to see. And, again, this is a name. How old was the Piscifun? 2000.
Piscifun's been around since 2013.
Okay, 2013.
Yep.
And I mean, that's fairly new in the world of fishing. We both know that. It is.
Absolutely.
In the world of fishing, you're inside of just over 10 years old. And so trying to get a name out there, and that's what guys like myself and Jason May and all of your pro staff and your doggone, I'm having your Facebook and social media. Dude, I just drew a blank. Help me out. Influencer. Good Lord.
No,
that was perfect. That was a pause for the cause. Your influencers, that's what we're here for. And that's our job is to make sure we get it out there and get the name out there. So we want to make sure that we start building that Piscifun name. We want people to be able to, I don't want people to have to do like I did and text you and say, all right, how do I pronounce this again? And I'm going back several months, and you know that. I texted and said, and you said it. It was easy. Like Reese's, Piscifun. It's easy. It's easy to say it right. But,
that's my word association for people who are struggling. Reese's Pieces. If you can get that, then you can get it.
Then you can get it. That's right. It's easy. Well, listen, I know it's been over an hour, and I know you got to go, but we've got to bring it up. We can't not do a podcast this week and not talk about it. But what are your thoughts on the recent announcements by several of the big bass tours regarding forward-facing sonar? And what are your personal thoughts on it? And I'll give you mine too. I'll share mine.
Yeah. So forward-facing sonar, like you mentioned, is definitely a hot topic in today's world for multiple different reasons. I've noticed, historically, anytime you get a significant advancement in technology, it generally ruffles some feathers and requires some attention, whether it's legislative through the state and like the DNR looking at it, or whether it's through competition or whatever it might be. And a similar thing happened back when side scan and side imaging came out, because we went from only being able to see what was under the boat to seeing 100+ feet all over and being able to figure out water very quickly.
That's right.
And so this isn't the first go around. I think this is a more advanced technology, so it's drawing a lot more scrutiny.
Yep.
But in general, for me personally, my opinion, I think that you've got a couple of different facets. On the tournament side of things, you've got these large organizations that put a lot of money into sponsoring these events. And people generally, as fans, also want to see the best of the best, use the best equipment available, the best technology available. So I commend the organizations that have stepped up. The NPFL stepped up and outlawed it completely, which is, a stance to take. And then Bassmaster just announced that they were basically going to place some limits as far as one transducer, 55 inches of screen. So they're kind of managing it to say, hey, yes, it has a place. However, it shouldn't be the main focus point of what we're doing.
Yep.
So yeah, for me personally, I use it. I enjoy it. I think it's a fun part of fishing. I think it adds a different facet to learning fish behavior and understanding it. But I do think that given the ability to target fish a little bit, more efficiently, we definitely need to see some legislature changes in terms of maybe fish limits and things like that, because if you're not being responsible as a steward of the sport or an angler, we could definitely see some harm coming to some of our waterways.
Bam! Oh my God, did you just hit the bullseye? So I completely, you and I are both on the same page with it. But I'm going to say this much. I came from the golf profession. That's what, prior to fishing finding me, I don't want to say that I found fishing, but fishing found me. Prior to that, I was a golf professional, played in college, played my whole life growing up, played professionally on mini tours and traveled. And let me tell you, when new products came out, and I would get my hands on it immediately. And if I could add 10 to 15 yards off the tee box, I'm buying it. If I could cut down in my missed shots because of a cavity back versus, muscle back, or if they move the weight around on an iron, of course I went and spent the money to buy it.
You want an edge.
Yeah. Do I want a golf ball that will go 50 yards further? Of course I do. Do I want to see the pros hitting it? No. I think they're hitting it way too far as it is. But guess what?
Sure.
They all have the opportunity to hit the same driver. They all have the opportunity to hit the same clubs. They're choosing what works for them. And I just think that, I mean, do we all wish we were still moving around with horse-drawn carriages? I mean, it's like we're almost saying, like, we need to stop all technology. Like, nothing should be improving. But I'll say this much. The elephant in the room is this, with Bassmasters. Bassmasters has a lot of financial influence from some of those electronics companies. And I don't think there was any way they were going to ban it. There was no way that they were going to ban it. That's my opinion.
I did not expect a ban from them at all. I figured there would just be some management surrounding it.
And my thoughts on the NPFL are this. They are a great tour. They're starting to pull a lot of big-name anglers, a lot of competitive anglers there. But they're also a put in, take out. And I say that in a sense of you're basically fishing for what you put up, and which is pretty large entry fees, if I'm not mistaken, okay? So they're not counting on that money to come in. Now, as far as a spectator, I'll tell you this, and I'll say that I much more enjoy watching bass on TV than I do NPFL. First off, it takes me an hour to figure out where the hell it is. Like, if I try to go watch NPFL, I go through 9 different things and go here, there, blah, 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 download this app, blah, 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 to watch it. To me, it's a lot of work, and I know most people aren't going to do that work to go watch it. But with that being said, they are pulling a lot of big names, and my good buddy Patrick Walters from right here in South Carolina, I think he's won 4 now, 3 or 4, and they've got a great thing going over there. But I think that the technology forward-facing sonar, whether you use live scope, live scan, whatever the others are, it doesn't matter. I think it's here to stay. I do think that the fish are probably suffering from it to a degree, and I think that a lot of the fish that are being caught now were probably never going to be caught, honestly, in tournaments. I agree completely. I just truly think that, and so for either of them to say it's for the safety and health of the fisheries and the resources, I can totally get behind it. I'm completely behind the fact that it works in saltwater as well. Most people won't try it. They don't want, just like 12 years ago when I was the first person, 10 or 11, when I was the first person that rolled up with a spot lock GPS trolling motor on a nearshore reef to fish, people laughed at me. They laughed. And I said, what are you laughing at? Like, dude, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm sitting on the spot. Like, I don't have to worry about, I have to worry about setting drift and blah, blah, blah. Fast forward 7 or 8 years, I can go down the charter row and look at every charter boat, and they've got one on the bow. And if they don't, I don't take them seriously, because just like forward-facing sonar, it makes a difference. You still got to get the fish to bite. It does. You still have to get them to bite. But for me, I'm just going to use one perfect example. Speckled trout are a immensely schooling fish. They're also very historical in the fact that last year, if you caught fish on a certain tide at a certain spot, sometime in that next year, around that same time, you'll find them there. It's going to happen. And with my forward-facing sonar, live scope, I'll say it because I've got Garmin. I represent Garmin. But with mine, I'm able to go. I'm looking. I'm panning them around. And they might be 100 yards away. I find them, and I go fish for them. That's all. I don't use it to – I don't watch every bait go by and go, oh, he didn't hit it. I'm not using it to that degree. I don't have to. Right. I don't have time. But I use it for that. I use it also to go around the jetties, the rocks. I look. I find schools of sheep's head feeding. And then the biggest thing for me, I use it for bait fish. If I'm looking for bait, menhaden, I'm off the beach. I'm in 15 to 25 foot of water, and they're coming up and they're going down. They're coming up, they're going down. So I'm not seeing them on the surface. I'm able to locate them, pinpoint them, go to them, and I throw that 10 to 12 foot net right out the side of the boat, let it sink, we go fishing. And I get to sit back and watch other 8 to 10 boats out there waiting on them to flicker on top. It's worth it. It's worth it. And, I wouldn't trade it, but I'm going to say this. I agree with you on, as more boats start to add it, and I know it's going to happen. They're going to start adding it. The prices are going to come down. But as boats start to add it in the saltwater, there are going to be certain species that are going to be more subject to overfishing because of it. And I say it's going to simplify some of the types of fishing because of it. And I do believe that watching the regulations for these species is going to be important over the next 5 to 10 years to protect them from what this, electronics is going to do to them, and that is make them, unhideable. Basically they're unhideable. But it does not mean that they're going to eat your bait.
That is true. I have personally targeted fish with live scope ever since it came out, and I have had days where I have had dozens and dozens of fish that trail a bait, and I watch them, and they do not eat it. At the end of the day, does it make you more efficient? Absolutely, no questions about it. But they're still fish. They still don't eat every time, you throw something at them. So there's still that level to it as well. I think, in my opinion, there's kind of a two-pronged approach here. I think in a perfect world that some of our fisheries and wildlife need to look at. I think number one is pushing personal accountability and respect for the resources. I think they need to educate people and let them know that it's on each and every one of us to not be gluttonous and to not overtake and even if you're not breaking the law on your possession or anything like that, but just understanding that, hey, you don't have to take a freezer full of fish every time and when you don't eat half of them anyways. I think the education portion is huge. And I also do think that they truly need to consider and look at, okay, do we need to lower these, limits on certain species? Do we need to adjust these? And lastly, and I think this way with technology in general, I think when it's initially brought up to people and it's shown to them, we're all adverse to change, right? Just as a human species, we like to be comfortable. Mm-hmm. And when change comes upon, generally for the first period of time, we're very resistant to it until enough people get used to it, and then it becomes the norm. And I think we're just in the middle of that tumultuous, torrid situation right now with this forward-facing sonar in the fishing industry, where we're at that peak moment of people being upset about it, arguing about it, and now I think we will slowly lull into that norm over the next few years.
Absolutely. Wow. Good call. Hey, I'm going to let you end on that. And by the way, folks, did you just hear all that conservation-minded talk out of this gentleman's mouth? He's the Vice President of Marketing with Piscifun and Tideway. So when you're thinking about products, consider people like this when you're thinking about whether you're going to purchase and support them or not. Jason, thank you so much for taking time. And again, Piscifun.com or Tideway.com to find all these products. And, also we're going to be getting more stuff in down here. If you want to come check it out, you can hit me up. I'll be more than happy to put the boat in the water and show you some of the products or get them in your hands. Jason May, myself, or I think the next couple months we're going to see a lot of people add it to their arsenal, so we'll make sure we can get it in front of them. And, man, we look forward to working with you in the future, Jason.
Yeah, hey, it's been a pleasure. I appreciate you having me on the podcast. And you guys, too, when you're going out there at the website, make sure you use Trilogy 15. We've got that active on the Piscifun website, and it will actually be active on the Tideway website within the next couple of days as well. So make sure you use Trilogy 15. That'll save you guys 15%. You can help support the podcast. While you're getting some awesome
you missed
gear
me.
As well.
You beat me to it. That was going to be my sign off. You missed me. Well, that's awesome.
From you.
That's awesome. And listen, again, have a great day, and thanks so much for joining us. I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping here and finish the show up. But man, listen, it's been a pleasure, Jason, and again, thank you guys for an incredible product, and we look forward to working with you guys.
Yep. Thanks, Inglis. I appreciate you having me on. Everybody, you take it easy.
All right, buddy. All right, Jason Brenic, Piscifun and Tideway, and I'll tell you what, again, please go check out their products and use that Trilogy 15. That's what I wanted to make sure I mentioned at the end. You can go shopping, and he just mentioned Tideway. That's great. We're going to be on Tideway.com as well, but go shopping, and when you see that price down there, make sure, discount at the bottom, Trilogy 15. Add that into the box. Get that 15% off, and we really appreciate you supporting the podcast and going on and supporting these wonderful people. But it's been a great time, and again, y'all, listen, I mentioned this on Let's Fish TV episode I filmed last week, and I'm going to mention it here. Social media is a great platform It's a great platform to go learn about things. It's a great platform to go share things. It's also a great place for keyboard warriors to go pick fights. Don't be that keyboard warrior. Don't be that keyboard bully. If you don't like a post, just shy away from it. Spread nice things. Just say nice things. Compliment people. I promise you life will be a lot easier. And you're not going to be battling it out on keyboard and on social media with people, which we see all the time right now. And that's why we like keeping it positive here at Trilogy Outdoors. And you can find everything at TrilogyOutdoorsMedia.com, or you can join us every Saturday morning on Trilogy Outdoors Radio Show on Gator 107.9, or go pick up Trilogy Outdoors magazine in stands everywhere. And, hey, again, great episode today. Thank you, Jason Brenic, for joining me. And we'll be back next week with another great episode of Trilogy Outdoors Podcast, talking fins, fur, and feathers. Captain E here with Southern Anglers Radio Show, and I'll tell you what, I am super excited to be down in the Pond Road Storage in Murrells Inlet. I'm located within moments of either going to the river or going to put in the inlet. I'm keeping that Key West 250 Bay Reef indoors, and it is staying in great shape. I only have to wash the boat once now, and that's when I put it up and not before I take it to go fishing. But you can get incredible options here. 20-foot wide, 50-foot deep with 14-foot roll-up doors, a most state-of-the-art security system to keep you that peace of mind on all your products that you may keep in these storage buildings. You've got climate-controlled or non-climate controlled outdoor storage for trailers, RVs, and such. You can't go wrong. 843-855-7375. Give Chris Collins a good call down there. We can't wait. We love broadcasting down here inside the storage building. And you need to come down here and check it out, too. Come down. Pond Road Storage, right here in Murrells Inlet. Trilogy Outdoors Podcast is a product of Trilogy Outdoors Media. All views and opinions of our hosts and guests are not necessarily those of our sponsors. Trilogy Outdoors is produced and edited by Trilogy Outdoors Media. Be sure to follow us on all the podcast platforms as well as our social media pages on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And also, don't forget our other brands, Southern English Radio Show and Walk 'Em All Outdoor Magazine. To find more information, visit TrilogyOutdoorsMedia.com. And remember, if it's anything dealing with fins, fur, and feathers, you're going to find it right here on Trilogy Outdoors.